Hi, folks. So, I know something that, I was supposed to go to that church, the Vineyard. I was supposed to go because my understanding of church now is far greater than it was. Far greater. Because going to the churches that I've gone to, dealing with the people that I've dealt with, you get more of an understanding of it. Yeah, like dealing with Rick Harris. Rick Harris is, the community church of, Pentecost, the supposedly Pentecostal church, which is nothing like Pentecostal, but there you go. So, dealing with him, you see what an incredibly weak man he is. And just full of fear. Full of fear. And it's a common thing that, as I say, it's even more the case. What I liked about the Vineyard is that you had a leadership that were from the area. Because I've done so many videos talking about why churches go into America and Spain and South Africa and any other places in Africa to get their leaders. It's ridiculous. You've got people local who can do just as good a job, well, who can do just as bad a job as they can do. And that's true. They can do just as bad a job as those people can do. So therefore, why go to America to get a terrible pastor? Yeah. Where the River Church, both River Churches, the one in Banff, the one in Elgin, Community Church of God, and the Baptist Church in Elgin all have American pastors. All have. There's something about it. There's that, I don't know. Again, I think it's more to do with a pattern. It's more to do with that point that, one church gets an American pastor, it seems to go okay. So then other churches then copy that, thinking that the reason why it worked in that church is because that pastor is American, rather than maybe that pastor is the right person for that church. That maybe, they got together and it worked a bit. Rather than it's because that person is from another country. People are idiots. That's the truth of it. People are idiots. They see a pattern and they go with the pattern rather than, thinking it's God and, okay. Because again, if a church is working, then the first thing that you should be looking at is it's God. God put the right person with the right people in that church, and that's why it's working. Well, okay. Well, how do we get this church to work? We've got to go to God to get the right person for the people in this church. Obviously. But that takes time, doesn't it? And so therefore, but again, it's, for me, it's good because my understanding improves. Yeah. My understanding does improve, so that's not too bad. But again, in a way, I'm being molded to be sharper. I was going to say, and a bit softer, but I'm not sure if softer is the point. It isn't softer, it's a better understanding of what people do and why they do them. Like the last video, talking about the fact that, I think that when the Vineyard Church was set up, they had to set it up quickly, because the quicker you can set the church up, the quicker it can be paying for itself and the quicker that things start to work. It starts to run as it should do as a church. So therefore, they used a pattern that they knew to set it up, and they believed that they could maybe change things once it was built. They could redesign it according to God once it was built. Yeah. But that's where the lack of understanding of people comes in, really. Because obviously for it to function as a church, you've got to bring people in. And as soon as you bring people in, it's now their church. And they're coming into the church because they like it as it is. They don't want it changed. And you, yourselves, become happy with the way things are because you're getting more people in. So you think God is blessing it as it is. No, He's not. No, He's not. The reality is God is not going to bring people to that church. He's not. Because there's no point. Why is God going to bring people to a church that has no desire for God? Not going to happen, is it? Yeah, a church that basically is quite happy being a false worshipper. Because again, if you're a false worshipper, what does that make you? It makes you a false teacher. Because if you're teaching that this is the way worship should be done, and it's false worship, it makes you a false teacher as well. So if you're happy to do things in that way, that's the pattern that you're happy to continue with, God's not going to be blessing that pattern, is He? What, false teachers, false worshippers? God's going to be blessing that? No, of course not. And so again, it's about understanding true context. As I say, when people come into church, we've just had COVID, and it's still recent, isn't it? 2021. That's when it started to open up again. 2021, only 5 years ago, right? COVID impacted people in a massive way. The way society has been since, a lot of people have been in schools where it's been incredibly judging, a lot of pressure. So therefore, people wanting hope. Where they're going to go? When they want hope, where they're going to go? They're going to go to a church for that because they've got signs outside churches saying, "We have hope. Come inside. We can give you hope." Right? They have all churches, signs outside. Right? Most churches have those signs. So people come in because it's churches, is what church does. Yeah. I just realised something. This video is saved as Fairy Village Woods, 4 collies, no Molly Collie, and guess who was holding the stick? That one there with a tail wagging? Molly Collie. She was in it, but she wasn't in the first bit. She's in the second bit. There's my Molly Collie, number 1. Yeah, she was a beautiful girl, such a lovely nature. Yeah, absolutely soft, as soft as you could get, just soft. Wonderful dog. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Church. Yeah. Hopefully soon, things will start to change. Hopefully soon, I can find some people that are actually of God. Again, did I find someone in the last church? Maybe. But it's only a maybe. It's only in a place like that, anyone supporting that, saying that is good, there can only ever be a maybe put on those people because that is not good. The worship is absolutely awful. Well, because the worship is all about the one that it shouldn't be about, and they know it, yet they're still doing it. So therefore, you've got to class that as bloody awful, really. It's like saying we're doing a concert, and we're basically doing the concert about Queen, the good Queen, and you do no songs about Queen at all, and you want people to say "good job." No, not a good job. Terrible job. And as I say, even the service, when you can have someone lie during the service and you don't care about fixing that. But the biggest problem is with the people. If this was a church where there was people of God, actually of God in that church. When the pastor said the church is now the plant, as in the vine, I'd expect at least 2 or 3 people to be queuing up waiting to speak to the pastor about that. But what's more disturbing, the fact that no one else, apart from myself, wanted to speak to the pastor about that. Again, as far as I know, because the pastor never told me that other people pointed that out. He never told me that, so I assume no one else did. So is that more disturbing that no one else pointed it out, or that people didn't even notice it was said? And that's why it can only be a maybe. That's why when I look at any church, I can only say there might be someone of God in that church. But I'm leaning more on no, there isn't. Because again, it's not about what you say, it's about how you act. And as I say to me, if I didn't do these videos, I would be standing up in church saying, what the heck are you doing? I have to. I wouldn't be able to be in church and just sit quietly if I wasn't doing these. This is a way of me expressing, what I see and, the horror of what I saw. Because when I say horror, it's a horror show. It is a horror show. Now, to most people, it's not, because most people they're quite happy with what they see. What they want is community. They get community. What I want is God. I don't want community. I want God. You don't get God, you get community. And so for me, it's an absolute horror show seeing all of that. But yeah, it is what it is. So, yes. I don't know why that dog is going that way. Going the wrong way. Or not. Nope, they're going the wrong way. They were. I was right. They were going the wrong way. Yes. Anyway, there you go. I wish you well. You take care. God bless. Speak to you soon.